I think there's been a clarification which might have indicated just how seriously Dfinity is treating this journey. Let me explain why. Just because Pierre, who is the chief business officer of Dfinity, made a post saying how we are protocol engineers, not narrative engineers. That's what he said. I quote him, right? However, I'll talk all about that in today's video, even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything. This is just my perspective, and nothing I say is financial advice. So again, Pierre, the chief business officer of Dfinity, saying how we are protocol engineers, not narrative engineers, showcases that they're not necessarily focused on cool factor or hype or creating short-term attention, because that type of stuff doesn't last forever. Like hype, attention, just purposely trying to create a lot of commotion like that, that doesn't typically last forever. What does usually last for quite a while? A good use case, good fundamentals, practicality. In which case, Dfinity is trying to do exactly that. They're looking to launch multi-DEX. They're looking to launch cloud engines. They already have OIC version 2.5. They already have Caffeine AI version 3. So these are the things that they're doing. So again, when it comes to the cloud market, they have that covered, right? Hopefully through cloud engines moving forward if they do decide to finally launch it. And when it comes to AI, they have that covered too through Caffeine AI. Now, when it comes to, let's say in the case of a DEX, they have that covered too. They have the upcoming multi-DEX. So they have multiple pathways kind of covered. So this is the thing. They're focused on the fundamentals and they're focused on the use case. Other projects out there, they're focused on hype, creating attention. But what happens if the hype or attention isn't really there anymore? Sometimes we see those projects kind of fizzle out. But when it comes to Dfinity, it seems like Pierre, who again is the chief business officer, he has this mindset where he's treating this more seriously. And I think from that, it should be fair for me to assume or deduce, I would say, that Pierre has more of a long-term mindset. This is what I like seeing, because some of their projects out there, they kind of treat it like a short-term thing, but it doesn't seem like that to me here, at least. Now, people like to tell me, right? Well, Dfinity is doing so many amazing things. It's doing all this and that, but the price is still at around $2 when it comes to their computer. Again, like I mentioned in my previous video, good fundamentals does not equal good demand. Good demand typically happens if the market were to recover, but that's a big if, and that's contingent on the market recovering. But at times, in order for that to be seen, it would require waiting for quite a long period of time in some cases, maybe years in some instances. Now, am I willing to wait that long though? Yes, so then I don't mind. Had I not been willing to wait, then I would mind and I would leave. That's kind of simple, right? But again, good fundamentals, a good use case could hypothetically matter eventually. It's like, for instance, electric vehicles, right? Electric cars. A lot of car companies are shifting their entire focus to be focused on EVs. Back then, it wasn't necessarily the case. So it kind of showcases that, again, sometimes things don't matter until they do. So again, multi-DEX, OIC version 2.5, cloud engines, we take a look at Caffeine AI. Again, sometimes that type of stuff may not matter so much until it eventually does. Let's think about this, right? The internet computer in 2024, almost at $19 without the good fundamentals I'm seeing as of right now. What does that showcase? It showcases that just based off of a pretty decent market sentiment alone and pretty okay fundamentals, the internet computer was able to reach like almost $19 in 2024 without the good fundamental things that I'm seeing right now. Imagine it was able to reach that before. What could it do if the market hypothetically were to recover now that it has way better fundamentals? That's what I'm wondering. Just because even going back to $19, like the journey is around 9 times from right now, right? So if let's say the market sentiment just matched what it was before, yet it has way better fundamentals, could you imagine? Based off of just kind of hype and attention, it was almost able to reach $19. Now with the actual fundamentals, and let's say we combine that with maybe, let's say, a good market sentiment, if it exceeded $19 or whatever, it wouldn't surprise me. Will it though? Who knows? And could it though? Again, who knows? And when will it happen? Only time will tell if it could even happen. But the way I take a look at it is that the core principle is still there, kind of like in a sense where the internet computer back then wasn't that good, yet it was able to achieve that just because of the market sentiment. So what could happen moving forward if the market sentiment were to improve and yet the fundamentals are as good as they are as of right now? Again, that's just what I'm a bit curious about, because it's like, for instance, right? If I was able to, I guess, run a certain amount of speed using Timberland boots, how fast can I run when I actually don't use Timberland boots and I actually use literal running shoes? That's the thing. But the difference is the inner computer hasn't had time yet to showcase it running in running shoes, so to speak, just because with all the amazing fundamental achievements that I've seen so far, it primarily happened in 2026, in which case it wasn't the best time for altcoins and also this space overall. So the inner computer hasn't had a chance yet to kind of fully shine, so to speak. But again, I don't mind waiting. That's the thing. But I like the core principle and the core mindset of Dfinity, because when the chief business officer, like in the case of Pierre, saying how we are protocol engineers, not narrative engineers, it showcases that, again, he has probably a long-term mindset. He's focused on building and not focused on short-term hype or attention. And I do like seeing that, especially at a time like 2026, because in order for a project to survive the market downturns, it typically needs to have good fundamentals and an actual good use case. Like we've seen sometimes people, like they launch a product, right? And the marketing is really good, but we don't really see the product take off for the long term. Why? It's because they focus on the marketing, they focused on the attention, but they didn't focus on the actual good product. What usually survives in the long term is if the product is good. So when I take a look at, in the case of Dfinity, they're focusing on the product, right, so to speak. They're focused on the actual project itself, and they're focused on the good use case, and I like seeing that. So again, when he made that post right there, I think it was kind of a breath of fresh air. Kind of showcased how Dfinity, they're not playing around, and they're actually quite serious, it seems like. But of course, I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward. I want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a very fantastic, wonderful, and amazing day. It's been Lee the Captain, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.